So I'll tell you the story about one of the people we met. His name's Askhad, and he was awesome. We did an English club where I think they do that in Russia and many other places in the world a lot too, where basically the missionaries teach English, and they invite people from the community to come. And usually that's pretty in demand. People want to learn English, especially from native English speakers. And so we had a lot of people coming. And during the time we taught English, we didn't teach about religion. And we told them we'll have a spiritual thought afterwards. And anytime you want to talk about religion, we would outside of the classes. But like we said, we tried to keep it kind of community service. And so we had a lot of people coming. We got to know them. We got to be pretty good friends with them. And Ascot was one of them. And afterwards, I remember him staying back, and he had a lot of questions about who we were, about the Book of Mormon, about God. And we talked with him, and he wanted to schedule an appointment for us to start teaching him. He was really excited. And this was right before New Year's, when we finally agreed to meet with him. And I remember on New Year's, we were calling all of our investigators. We stay inside New Year's because that's the biggest holiday of the year. It gets pretty rowdy on the streets. So we were just calling all the investigators and all the people that we had and just wishing him a Happy New Year's. And we called him, and he apparently was in a fight. Sometimes the native Kazakh and native Russians would clash a little bit. And so here's the way he describes it, and I don't know how much of this is true, but he is a national kickboxing champion. So he's gone to many different competitions, and he's been really successful. And he said that he was with his girlfriend, and he got jumped by a bunch of Russians, and he said that there were like 20 of them, and he fought them all off. He said they started using weapons. They had boards and stuff like that. I don't know how much of this is true. It sounded pretty awesome, but he actually got his head, part of his skull, crushed from a board when he was hit. And so when we called him, he was in, I think he just got out of the emergency room. And for a while he had a big bandage on his head. And so we went and visited him, and we started teaching him. And because it was a life-changing experience, it was an experience where he, was in mortal danger. I think he started thinking more about perspective and about his soul and what was true. And he started being a lot more earnest in learning about the gospel, and eventually he was baptized. And I remember just looking at this experience and seeing other experiences that I had in general. We as missionaries, our role wasn't to convert people. It wasn't to change people's lives. It wasn't to cause miracles to happen. Our role was to, once God changed people's lives and once God caused miracles to happen in their life, to then teach them the truth, and then let the Spirit work through us to work through them to help them come to the truth. And I remember, at first thinking as a missionary, you think that your role is to convert people. It's to go out and if I just teach this lesson, with the Spirit enough, and if I do it perfectly, then they'll be converted, or they'll feel the Spirit and they'll do what I'm asking them to say. But I realize that's not the case. That's not how it works. Is we do our best, we go and teach them, but miracles and things happen beyond us. And the Lord works in funny ways. Near-death experiences, for example, most people wouldn't look at that as a miracle, but in his case it was. It was what inspired him to really want to learn more and eventually come to the truth. And that had nothing to do with us. All we did was we were there when God needed us to be there to teach the truth and help them out. But I'm convinced that the Lord is working very diligently with thousands of people in Kazakhstan and other countries across the world. And he's preparing them with little miracles. And then missionaries, all we have to do is find them at the right time, and the Lord will lead us to them if we're open to the Spirit. And then teach them when they're ready at that point to listen, and then they'll they'll accept what we have to hear because it'll sound familiar because they've already had experience in their life where God has been leading them along.